Good morning, everybody. It's actually maybe like 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. And as you can see, I'm still in bed, still sleeping on this hard floor, waiting for my mattress to finish expanding. I just finished meditating. I haven't washed my face yet, but I wanted to talk to you all because, I just moved to another state, and as you know, moving is stressful. It's one of the most stressful life events, just like divorce and all of those things. So, since I'm sleeping on this hard floor, and this is like my fourth night sleeping on a hard floor, I had trouble getting a good sleep. And so I started suffering from sleep deprivation. And and then it affected my mood. I was, you know, just I felt exhausted. I felt exhausted, so tired. So, but I want to share with you about an incident that occurred yesterday where even if you are disrespected or mistreated, it's still critical for you to maintain your self-respect and your assertiveness, respect of others. So what happened is I wanted to change a type of bank account that I had opened. I had called them on the phone. They said that I need to come in. So I went in, spoke to the teller and told her that they said I need to come in. The teller did her best to work with me. She was very professional. And I thanked her, for doing her best to work with me. And so even though I wasn't able to get the account changed, I understood the explanation and she had tried. So I was like, it ain't on you, it's, you tried. So thank you. And I asked her, could I get a printout of my statement? So as she was trying to print it out, the bank manager walked over to us. And the bank manager started talking about why I could not get the account open. Well, me and the teller had concluded discussions, and, that had been resolved, not in my favor, but okay, fine, we had finished the discussion and had moved on to, okay, so now we're talking about me getting a bank statement. So like I, just explained to you all, and as I had told the tailor, I'm very tired, I lack sleep. So I chose not to engage in conversation with the bank manager. I wasn't going to rehash what had just been gone, which had just been spoken about. And so when the bank manager started talking to me about it, I chose not to re-engage with her, and I just continued my communication with the teller. And I just said to the teller, I said, looking only at the teller, I just said, we discussed this, it's been resolved, and I just like to get my bank statement because I'm very tired and I would like to leave. And then the manager, because I did not engage with her in the discussion, she said, oh, I'm not going to tolerate this disrespect. You don't disrespect me. I'm going to write up a report about you. And then she called the police officer in the bank over. So I'm still sitting there, hadn't really checked in yet. And so then I just asked her, I said, okay, so are you going to print out my bank statement? Because that's where I am. I'm just focused, on, I'm not into drama and all that. So then when I asked her that, she didn't speak to me. She just stood up and just looked at me, So I said, oh, okay, I guess not. Then I stood up. And so then I just looked at the teller again. And, I said, thank you, teller, for, trying to help me. I just thanked her because she was very, very nice. I mean, she really tried to help me. And then I just turned and I walked out. Um, so, even though this manager, she said she felt disrespected because I chose not to re engage in a conversation that had been completed with the bank teller. So, my thing is, I do not have to talk to anyone I do not want to talk to. That's number one. Number two, I do not need, my business had been concluded and I was preparing to leave. And, I just didn't want to talk about it. And I wasn't rude or never got loud, never cursed, nothing like that. But this manager, her ego got involved. And because her ego got involved and because I had chosen not to engage in conversation with her, she chose to take offense instead of being, and the bank teller told her, when I said, okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore, it's been resolved, the bank teller chimed in and said, yes, she and I went over this. I explained to her this, that, and the other. And so she let the manager know it had been discussed and resolved. Further explaining why I didn't want to re-engage and rehash that. But the manager this is a bank manager, was in a negative disposition, in a negative mood, and she took it personally that I chose not to engage in conversation with her over that subject that had been resolved. And so she wanted to hurt me. So the best way she could do that, or try to do that, was to say, I want you to leave this bank right now. I'm not going to give you a bank statement, and I'm going to call the police over to make it look like you're causing trouble and escort you out. So I hadn't caused any trouble or nothing like that. But I'm talking about this because this is one of the problems we have in our world. This is just a incident of the many incidents we have in the world of why there is failed communication, people get angry with each other, there's conflicts. How do you handle a situation when you do not get what you want? That's the thing. When you do not get what you want, how do you then behave? Do you come out of a bag? Do you become a bully? Do you become abusive? What do you do? So there were 4 people in this situation: me, the police officer, the bank manager, and the teller. So I look at this, for me personally, as a spiritual test, because I look at things from a spiritual perspective. So I'm happy and I'm proud of how I handled that situation, especially under a lack of sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because it could have easily gone left for me, because I'm tired. When you're tired, you could be impatient, you could have a short temper, you could be very emotional, all those things, right? And so it's so much easier to lose your cool. But I check in with myself every day so I know what my disposition is. So I know, I already knew I've been sleeping on this hard floor for 4 days. I have lack of sleep. Because I can't sleep, I'm a little emotional because I haven't been getting my full hour sleep. And my body is sore because I'm sleeping on, hard floor. So I retained my self-control, kept my emotions in check, even though I felt terrible, you know. But that was a situation, there was no winning in that situation. I saw it for what it was. my I wanted to go home, not be in any kind of trouble. The woman had heard she had engaged in a way of speaking to me and behavioral stance that was extremely negative, um, conflict oriented, uh, escalatory. And so, thank God and my guides, I knew to not engage. So, yeah, of course I didn't like what happened. I didn't like how she treated me. I didn't. But I'm only responsible for my behavior, what I think, what I say, what I do. Now, each of them will be responsible for their own behavior. They will have to think about, how did I behave? How did I respond? Was this really a negative situation? Was this woman acting out in the bank? Was there a threat? And the answer to all of that is no, there wasn't. It was just a bank manager who got into her emotions, her feelings, who didn't get what she wanted, which was to engage me in conversation. And so, because she did not get what she wanted, she decided to go on the negative and mistreat me. She wanted to punish me. She wanted to hurt me because I did not give her what she wanted, which I had every right not to give her. I did not have to have a conversation with anyone. The issue had been resolved with her teller, so I was not going to rehash it. I was tired. I was ready to go. So, yes, I did feel hurt by her behavior, of course. But this is the world we live in. There are all kinds of people on this earth who are emotionally intelligent and who are not. So how do you deal with it when someone mistreats you, or when you do not get what you want? How do you behave? Some people go very violent. Some people become very abusive. I'm not one of them. I choose to love myself. I choose to love others. I choose to be respectful of myself, respect others, and maintain assertiveness, and disengage when I know that the situation is not right, either on my end or the other person's end. I just knew I just did not want to engage with that woman. And I'm glad I did not, because as I saw, that was how she decided to treat me, very disrespectfully. And I did not respond back to her. There was no winning. There was no resolution. Sometimes the other person it cannot be, because they are in their feelings. They are in their ego. And so the best thing to do is just walk away peacefully and freely. And yeah, because that's what we have to do. That's what we have to learn to do. And a big reason why we have the problems we have in our world with people. I mean, look at, even in politics, there's one side that wants one thing, there's another side that wants another. And because there's no meeting of the minds, there's name calling, there's hatred, you know, there was even violence. All because someone did not get what they wanted. Or because, and so it happens from just in the household all the way up to the federal government. People misbehave. And it doesn't matter how much education you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how much emotional intelligence you have, how much control you have over your own behavior, your own thinking. and how you respond when someone presents you with disrespect or abuse or bullying. Don't come out on a bag with them. Do not give them the same behavior that they are giving you, especially if in doing so, it will put you at a further disadvantage, you know? Because if I had done anything out the way, you know, she probably could have had the officer arrest me. You know, if I had even raised my voice. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew I was in an unfair, mistreating, disrespectful situation. So I chose, okay, yes, I know I'm being mistreated. I know I'm being disrespected. I know this woman is being unfair to me. And because I will not engage with her. So my best option for myself is to stay disengaged. Thank the teller for her trying to work with me, and leave. If I gotta go cry, I cry to get rid of the stress and the hurt. Yeah, that was hurtful. It's hurtful to be mistreated. Nobody likes to be mistreated. But I've learned that now that this has happened, what do I do? Well, what do you do? Well, what you do is you don't carry it with you. You don't want to incorporate it into your memory bank and into your emotions and be affected. You don't want to have a bad attitude. You don't want to carry this hurt with you. No. I said, okay, it happened. I'm not going to carry it with me. So what does that mean literally? That means I let it go, something, if the thought comes back up, I switch the thought to something more positive and constructive. You see, because that happened. And even that manager, she's going to have to evaluate how she dealt with that situation, how she responded, her disposition. And see, from a spiritual perspective, all of this is recorded. All of this is observed. It may have been my karma to go through this type of interaction. It could have been a spiritual test, which I did pass, which I'm very proud of myself because I stayed on my square. Even though I was dirt tired, lacked sleep, all of that. I stayed on my square. I didn't lose my emotions. I didn't come out on a fit. I didn't do any of that. So this experience to me has told me that, okay, Gina, you're doing really good. You are growing in the right way. You have emotional intelligence. You did not come out of a bag. You did not get what you wanted. But even though you didn't get what you wanted and you were mistreated, you still maintain your composure, your self-respect. And you did not return any abuse or get loud or anything like that. So I'm very proud of myself. So it's not always about getting what we want. Because this is life. We got people who have different beliefs, different opinions, see things differently, have mood swings, mood disorders, mental problems, all that in this milieu. So we just have to be responsible for ourselves. Even with Nelson Mandela, he was a nonviolent person. He spoke his thoughts, but all these people around him, they were against him, right? He just wanted his people to be free and have peace. But the Caucasians there in Africa, they wanted to have this supreme, I'm better than you feeling, and wanted to continue to mistreat the people of color. And even though they locked him up in prison for he didn't do it and continued to mistreat him, he still maintained his composure, his emotions, his self-respect, and he endured the punishment. They punished him for speaking up for his rights, for demanding to be treated like a human being just like they were. So we experience times where people are going to be abusive, be a bully, mistreat you, do you wrong, punish you, and you haven't done anything to deserve the mistreatment. But this is the world that we live in, you all. And like I say, I see it as tests. I see it, we as human beings, we have to experience every experience there is to experience as a human being, as a spiritual being living in a human body. So when we experience the negativity of life, the best way to heal, this is even going to a child who's being abused in any kind of way, or a woman who's been robbed or violently attacked or violated. How do you respond to that after it has happened? You have to know that, number one, it wasn't anything that you did or that you even said that caused the person to respond that way. You see, there's your action, then there's how that person chooses to interpret your action, that person's feelings, and then that person's choosing how to respond. That's why you have people who may experience the same thing but give different responses. You may have one person who chooses to lash out and physically fight, but you may have another who chooses to walk away. So it's not the behavior of the person. Like, I chose not to interact with the woman. My decision not to interact did not cause her to disrespect me, because she could have made different choices. She could have said, oh, okay, well, this is a done deal. I'm going to walk away and go back to my table. I don't need to be here. She could have chosen that. Or she could have just chosen to be like, okay, But she chose to engage in conflict. That's her decision. That's on her. So in her spiritual growth and her spiritual development, that's what she's going to have to deal with. All of this, all these behaviors and stuff, this is recorded in eternity because you carry this with you. So for my healing and for anyone's healing, when you encounter a negative situation or a person who disrespects you, bullies you, mistreats you, or punishes you because they did not get what they wanted, the best thing, and then of course what I also did is I did come and I did call the bank and I did let them know about this interaction that occurred, because the woman said, well, I don't tolerate this disrespect and I'm going to write a report up on you. So she was saying things to trigger a negative response, but I did not give it to her. I didn't respond. So I had to let the bank know, though, that this is how this woman behaved towards me. These are the things she said. And so I'm calling to let you know what happened. And then I'm following up with a letter to the executive office. And you know what? If it comes out that this bank decides, okay, well, we're going to end the banking relationship with you, then that's okay too, because there are other banks. And I know that I conducted myself in a respectful manner. So you have to know how your behavior was. You have to know for yourself, what you did, because other people, they may not acknowledge it because it may go against what they are trying to achieve, or they may try to save face. or they may not want they may not want others to know that they misbehaved. So there are a lot of things that go on in human interaction that we have to deal with. But the best thing, like I said, for me going forward, I don't want to carry this negativity with me. So I choose, okay, I wrote about it. I've contacted the bank to let them know that this was my unfortunate experience. And now I had to, decide, Gina, how are you going to deal with this going forward? Because this ain't the last time somebody's going to mistreat me just because they did not get their way. This is not the last time somebody's going to be abusive with me or try to punish me just because I didn't do what they say. So I choose, going forward is not to think about it because it's an unpleasant situation. I'm proud of myself for how I handled it. I know, this is how some human beings behave. And I just have to continue to be proud of myself and how I conducted myself. That's all we can do. Because we cannot control another person's behavior. We cannot control how they think. And it goes from in the household all the way up to the highest levels of government. There was a man who chose to take Martin Luther King's life. And Martin Luther King didn't do anything to disrespect anyone. But there was, for whatever reason, it could have been political reasons, it could have been, and I think it was a combination of all that, but they didn't like the love that he was talking about how people need to be treated, how we Black Americans need to be treated equally. And so there was, and how he was opposed to the war in Vietnam. And there were people who did not like that he spoke out about it. So the greatest injustice, the greatest punishment, the greatest lack of respect is to take away someone's life or take away their freedom. So it happens. It happens. But we just have to decide how are we going to respond and move forward after it happens. And I choose love. God bless you all.